Elliott, I hear you've been learning to surf.
I think that's a grandiose statement of what I've been doing. But yes, I have been taking a surfboard down to the ocean and falling off it a lot. It's been a wonderful, wonderful addition to my life.
From The Australian, this is the weekend edition of The Front. I'm Claire Harvey. What if I told you there was a composer who'd worked with Jay-Z, Florence Welch, Brian Ferry, rapper Nas, Christina Aguilera, Nile Rodgers, Sia, and that this same composer had written the scores for Baz Luhrmann's The Great Gatsby, The Get Down, and 2022's Oscar-nominated smash Elvis? Would you believe me if I told you this composer was born in Wagga Wagga? Well, he was, and his name's Elliott Wheeler. We've all walked out of the cinema humming the theme of the movie we just saw. Then noticed we're humming the same tune weeks later when memories of the movie's main plot points have started to fade. Like this beautiful piece of Elliott Wheeler's from Netflix series The Get Down. Elliott's kindly given us some of his music to use throughout this episode. I've always been fascinated by how composers plant their work so deeply in our subconscious. How it's the music we recall first when we think of certain movies or TV shows. Film composing is a fascinating art form, and our guest today is one of the genre's masters. Joining me from his home on the Gold Coast is Elliott Wheeler. Elliott wrote the score for Spit, the new movie featuring David Wenham, which is in cinemas now, a sequel to the beloved Australian movie Getting Square, in which Wenham played the oddly lovable rogue Johnny Spiteri.
Your full name is John Francis Spiteri.
So? Excuse me, who's paying for my bus fare today?
One of the things I love about film scores is the way different characters have a little theme of their own. The most famous one is probably the shark in Jaws. You know, as soon as you hear the music, you know that the shark is coming.
And the thing I love about the shark theme in Jaws is the scary thing isn't actually the cellos and the basses, it's the piccolo. It's a little piccolo. That's what terrifies everyone.
You know, how do you do that? And did you do a theme for Johnny Spiteri in Spit?
Yeah, absolutely, for Johnny Spit. There's a number of themes. So there's sort of a theme for he's got a relationship with his sister, which is a much more emotional theme that carries through the film as it's sort of him as a character who's sort of always run from everything all his life. He's suddenly faced with a bunch of decisions where he has to work out whether he's going to run or stay. So there's a piano-based theme with strings that comes through whenever he's sort of dealing with that side of his personality. But then there's another side of him, which is, I guess, the more comedic side of Johnny Spit. You can't work out whether he's the dumbest guy in the room or the smartest. We'd actually gone round and round trying to work out what this was, and I'd written a bunch of stuff as you sort of meet his character for the first time, and I'd written some beautiful string stuff, and I thought, I nailed it, and watch it with the film and be like, it's got nothing to do with what this film's actually about. And David actually came in, because he's a producer on the film as well, and watched it, and he said, you know what, Johnny's a clown. And we're like, what speaks clown? And we're like, well, what about the accordion? And so we tried the accordion, and the accordion actually became the main instrument that we used as Johnny's sort of comedic theme, and it's great. We've got this wonderful accordion player, Svetlana Bunik, who's down in Tassie, and she recorded it for us. And
wow.
Yeah, it's not at all where I thought we would have ended up, but it works great for the film, and yeah, it was a really fun choice.
On the way here, I was listening back to the Elvis soundtrack. I'm really interested in how scoring a movie like that, a huge international movie about a huge international figure, compares with something like Spit, which is such an Australian story, such an Australian movie. What were those two experiences like?
There's similarities and vast differences between the two of them. I mean, at the centre of it, your job is to help tell a story musically. There's usually something happening on screen, which is the dialogue and the action. And then there's also usually another storyline that isn't being told by either what's being said or what you're seeing that the audience is trying to tap into or you're trying to help the audience to tap into. And that's sort of the thing that you're often trying to find. And for me, the real joy of screen composing is about trying to find what that element is. And a lot of the conversations that you have with the director and your team is about what story are we actually trying to tell here.
Like in so many industries, technology has revolutionised the composing world in the past 2.5 decades. Using digital audio workstations, or DAWs, loaded with ultra-realistic samples of just about any instrument imaginable, composers can produce a score without leaving their home studio. They do it by programming layers of different instruments together. For Elliott, this is a handy tool for what he calls the sketching phase, but no substitute for collaborating with real musicians and getting a great human performance.
There's a real danger that you can end up writing for what you know will sound good on the computer. And one of the ways that I try and get around that is now just using live players as much as possible. And that's one of the real joys of composing for me, is actually hearing other musicians bringing your ideas to life. Because, I'm so bored of the way that I play after having done this for as long as I've been doing it.
And do you also think about the fact that this is going to be an album eventually that people will be listening to in their cars? Is that part of your thinking or not really? Are you actually just thinking about the film as the piece of art first?
Really, you've got to focus on the film. I've got myself into a lot of trouble sometimes trying to think of how a film project is going to sound as an album, and it really can take your eye off the ball in terms of making sure you're doing the best storytelling. And for a project like Elvis, where there is obviously going to be so many eyes on it and such an appetite for it, there's a whole team of people who are involved in that process, from music supervisors, and obviously at that level you've got record labels involved as well. And at the end of the day, with someone like Baz is driving that entire process. He has a very clear vision of who and how he wants the sound to come out like. But really, you've got to make sure the story works at the first level. Otherwise, people aren't going to be interested in the album if the film sucks. So.
Coming up, the secrets of Elvis.
If you're looking for trouble, you came to the right place.
Music videos have exploded in the past few decades. I'm not talking about 3-minute, 30-second music videos played on Rage, but full-length features where music takes centre stage. There are documentaries on hitmakers from Taylor Swift to Quincy Jones. Every band from Joy Division to NWA seems to be getting the Hollywood treatment. In the olden days, actors on screen would lip-sync. Now they're expected to sing. Timothée Chalamet as Bob Dylan, Taron Egerton as Elton John, and Austin Butler, who earned a Golden Globe for his performance in Elvis.
You mess around with me.
Working with the actor really closely gives you a really clear idea of what the instrument is that you're working with. And in the case of Austin, we were just so lucky that he's such an amazing individual and performer, and his work ethic is like nothing I've ever experienced before. I mean, the guy would be up at literally 4 a.m. There wasn't a thing you could ask him to do that was too much trouble. But it becomes a real collaboration, because once the trust is there, they can talk to you about things that they're comfortable doing and not comfortable doing, and you can lean into where their strengths are. And with someone like Austin on Elvis, where the voice of Elvis changed at least 4 times during his life. Like, it starts very high and nasal, and by the end it's this incredible operatic baritone. We got to work with Austin to sort of develop all those different styles of his voice.
It must be hugely daunting for those actors. You know, you wouldn't be training a novice accordionist to perform,
No.
But you are potentially dealing with a novice singer.
Yeah, I mean, and Austin is on record as saying he lived on terror because Elvis is literally a religion to millions of people. I mean, there's a canon, there's pilgrimages, all the impersonators. So yeah, Austin was, that's why he woke up at 4 a.m. He didn't want to let anyone down.
Speaking of the canon, Baz Luhrmann is someone who has created a canon of his own. What's it been like for you working alongside him, and how do you two work together?
It's very, very collaborative. There's a shorthand now because we've been doing it for so long, and some of the projects that we've done have been so intense. Baz is incredibly musical himself. I've got lots of films of Baz standing in front of the pictures, sort of singing string lines that I then sort of, if you listen to the final recording, you can absolutely hear the shape of where those lines are. Yes, and my fondest memories are like us over in Nashville, recording the Elvis sessions over there, and these great gospel sessions that we had. He's absolutely on the floor with us, working with the musicians, and even to the point of conducting choirs and that sort of thing, which is wonderful to see.
Well, I can't wait to see Spit. Did you like Johnny Spiteri? What is he? Is he the dumbest person ever, or is he a genius?
I think he's probably a genius. I'm coming down on the side of genius. He's such a wonderful character and such a fantastic character to score, and David's performance is hilarious and heartbreaking, and it's such a complete immersion in the character. I love it. It's a wonderful character, and I think a really, really wonderful film, and I can't wait for people to see it.
Spit is in cinemas now. Thanks for joining us on The Front. Our team is Jasper Leake, Kristen Amiot, Leah Tamaglu, Tiffany Dimack, Joshua Burton, Stephanie Coombs and me, Claire Harvey.